Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar at OPIT. Hello, and I'm very happy to have with us tonight or today, wherever you are, Professor Alexander Jader. And we're going to have a very interesting webinar about crypto assets. So I'm allowing everybody to settle in. Okay. So I'm going to just give you a very brief introduction about OPIT, and then I leave the floor to the webinar lesson. Tonight, as I said, is about crypto and blockchain, what really matters in 2025. So just a few words about the Professor Alexander Jader. Is like professor at OPIT, but is also one of the first people in the world to have held like a PhD in crypto assets in the business side. So this is something very interesting. So he's very knowledgeable, and please ask any questions that you may be interested in. You can use the chat, and at the end we're going to get the questions and answer them. My name is Greta. I'm head of marketing and admissions, and after the presentation I will also give you some insights about our degrees. Just a few words about OPIT now. So OPIT is an institution that offers degrees in technology. We want to unlock progress and employment on a global scale, offering tier 1, so top quality and affordable education in the field of technology. So it's computer science, digital business, data science, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity. But we also on the side offer a lot of soft skills, and the professor here tonight is actually one of them, offering a course in organizational behavior, but in general also the business side of it, which is very relevant to anyone who wants to work in tech. Few things about OPIT. So we are offering degrees accredited at the European level. Our degrees are all flexible and fully online. As I said, they're focused on technology for a reason. The world is going towards that. Employment is going towards technology, so it's very important. So that's why is also the fact that we are career aligned. Our courses have been designed for companies, with companies, and our professors as well have a business insight to offer to our students. We are flexible and fully online, but we also very much available. Support is there from the tutors, the professor, the program coordinators, career service, so you're not left alone. And as I said, we try to be inclusive and affordable as well, because online can allow anyone to attend from anywhere. And also our fees are just affordable enough for everybody. So a few words about one of the most important assets, which is our professors, our faculty. Starting from the rector, Professor Profumo has been Minister of Education in Italy, has been also rector at Politecnico di Torino, president for many, many institutions, bank institutions, so he has a business inside as well. And we have here some examples. So we have both male and female coming from different companies like Dorina Aliata from Amazon, or Marzi from Randstad. Sylvester is an interesting profile. He worked for NASA, and so on and so forth. So this is just a glimpse. We have a full faculty that you can reach out to our website on the faculty page. And one of the reasons we're here tonight about talking about crypto with Alexander is really because he's an expert, he's a business expert as well. So you're going to have a lot of insights about what really matters in 2025 in crypto and blockchain, especially on the business side. So I leave the floor to you, Alex.
Thank you, Greta. Let me just share my slides. Here we go. Okay, and now I have to enlarge them. Greta, can you see my slides? Does that work?
It works perfectly.
Marvelous. Thank you so much. Thank you, Greta, for the kind introduction. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. It's a bit unfortunate that I can't see you, but I'm glad you're here. I'm going to give you a brief overview of a few topics in the field of crypto assets. I try to keep it crisp and short if I possibly can. If you have any questions, feel free to lift your hands. At the end, we also will have a Q&A session. So the core question of today is, what can crypto assets and blockchain technology be used for? Now, yesterday, I had a private meeting, and I met somebody new I've never met before. And the person asked me about crypto and said, crypto, isn't that all just about speculation and getting rich quick? And that's the problem. That's what most people think about. They can't really see beyond that. And it's a very charming person. So I'm saying nothing negative here. All I'm saying is that this is the public perception. That's what we have to work with. And no, crypto is a lot more than that. In fact, crypto is going to touch all our lives. And the other question is, of course, why does crypto matter? Okay, beyond financial speculation. Okay, what we're going to talk about is, first of all, we'll discuss the trust problem. We will look at what crypto assets actually are, what they do, and we'll look at some real world stories. They're still stories because they're not real, but almost, and we are right at the cusp of it, which is why we have the year 2025 in the title. We look at business use cases, the everyday impact from payments to ownership, the challenges, and what the future might look like. And then, of course, we have the Q&A session. Right. The core challenge in business is the cost of trust. You do not do business with people you don't trust. Just think about your own situation. Who do you do business with? People you don't trust? No, it doesn't happen. Right? So trust, the word trust itself is at the very core of what business does. Usually at the moment, businesses rely on slow, costly middlemen. So we talk about banks, lawyers, auditors, think notary publics, right? So whenever you do business, you buy a house, you have to go probably to a notary public at some stage. You have to get your house registered. You have to tell the tax authorities. There's a lot of paperwork, a lot of back and forth. And buying a house is a long process. Same with cars. You buy a car, you might have to get your MOT checked. You might have to check whether your tire pressure is okay, etc. You have tax paperwork to fill out, so on and so forth. So there's a certain level of complication when you buy a car, when you buy anything. So the trouble here is that a lot of trust is required. And for that, we need verification, for which we have these middlemen like banks, lawyers, auditors, and so on. Now, the problem is that each time you meet one of these people, you also add cost because the banks cost money. Your lawyer costs money. Your notary public needs to be paid. Same with the auditors. So we call this a trust tax, that money that you pay. The other problem is that very often when we interact in business, we have a lot of data in silos. Just think of your own companies, wherever you have worked in the past. You might have come across CRM systems, ERP systems, what have you. So you have customer data about a product or a service, but it lives in different databases, and these databases don't talk with each other. And that leads to a lack of transparency and a lot of inefficiency, because it means that you're not able to just derive valuable information out of the data. It's just that the data is there, but you can't do anything with it. Now, the fundamental question that we ask today is, what if trust could be automated, if it could be fast, if it could be cheap and reliable? That is at the core of what crypto is really about. Ukraine, they have their troubles. We know that. We see that on the news every day. One aspect is one core challenge that they have is they want to join the European Union. It's very difficult for them, not only because of the war, but also because they have a lot of corruption in their country. It's one of those topics, right? But how do you get rid of corruption? You can have all kinds of committees that try to weed out the troubles, etc. But there's another way, a far easier way, which is you can implement technology. And this is from a blog post. Let me just highlight this here for you. Official regulatory plans were announced that blockchain technology usage to find corruption in the governmental sector. So what we do, if I go back one slide, we get rid of all these people that we have to trust and that might be corrupt. I'm not saying banks, lawyers, and auditors are all corrupt. That's not my message here. But my message is you have people that you need to trust in any larger entity, especially in governments. And in order to get rid of them, the idea is to use blockchain technology. How that works, you'll find out in a moment. But you see now the need why we need blockchain technology. We're not talking here about getting rich quick. It's a very, very different story. Now, we need to first of all define what blockchain technology is, and I'm pretty sure most of you will have seen one definition or another. I've put some references here together. You can follow them, you can look them up. The trouble is, as you can see, I've put this picture of that lovely lady here into the corner. Some people consider this to be a bit boring. Let me make it easy for you, because you can look this up on Google, on ChatGPT. They will tell you or give you a very nice definition of what blockchain technology is. Blockchain technology is a bit like a shared immutable recipe book. Imagine a cookbook copied to thousands of friends worldwide. Everyone can add recipes, but once added, they cannot be erased or changed. I have a dicey example of this. I hope I'm not, annoying anybody here, and I'm not going to talk now about any specific religion. But sometimes you see it, if you look at the religions of the world, that they have different books that they refer to. And it so happens sometimes they're different versions of this one book, and therefore there are different factions in different religions. That also happens in other fields. Can happen, in the gaming sector, sometimes even stories where you have storylines diverging. Just think of the whole saga with, what was it, Star Wars, when Star Wars was sold to Disney, right? Suddenly the storyline changed a bit because it was commercialized. Blockchain technology is trying to take care of that problem by giving you the opportunity to have one version of a fully agreed truth. In other words, to not make it boring and give you the technical definition of what blockchain technology is. Let me explain it to you. It is truth technology. That's it. It is truth technology. You can take whatever you agree on the truth is and put it on a blockchain and freeze it for the future. Okay? Everyone sees the same recipe. There are no secrets and there's no cheating. Everything is public. Everybody can see what's going on. There are no closed doors. Everything is freely available. Okay, so this is blockchain, a decentralized, unchangeable ledger everyone trusts. Simple. Okay, it's like I remember, for example, in my family, my grandmother has the best recipe for pasta sauce. It is extremely difficult to replicate, almost impossible. And I spoke with my siblings about that, and we all had different ideas as to what her secret was. If you would have put it down on the blockchain, we would all know and we would enjoy that pasta sauce for generations to come. Okay, crypto assets 101, more than digital money. So there are a few terms that you see flying around about crypto. You hear about Bitcoin, about Ethereum, and about stablecoins. Let me make clear what they are. Bitcoin is a bit like digital gold. It solves the double spending problem. So, for example, if you spend money and you have criminals that copy money, that produce counterfeit money, they might take a $100 bill and they pay with a fake $100 bill and they get goods and services in return that they should normally not be getting. That's a bad thing, right? If you were to have digital cash, the question is, could I spend that digital cash twice because it's digital, right? Just like a JPEG, you could copy it. And Bitcoin is a technology that manages to work just like gold, and I say purposefully gold, not money. And it cannot be spent twice. It can only be spent once. Ethereum, on the other hand, isn't just, like money. I hear that all the time. People saying, Ethereum is just like money. It will make me rich if I wait long enough, etc. That's not what the point is. It's programmable money with smart contracts. So if you think of if this, then that statements that you have in programming, those of you that know a bit about programming, that's what you can do with Ethereum. So you can have little contracts, essentially little snippets of data that do certain things once certain other things happen. So for example, if I finish this lecture today, maybe OPIT is going to pay me some money. Maybe I have negotiated that before with OPIT. This is just one example. And then if I wouldn't trust OPIT, I would say, I don't know if they will pay me. But if we were to put everything on the blockchain, if we put it into a smart contract on Ethereum, after the lecture is over and all boxes have been ticked, what makes a good lecture, I would get paid automatically. Just one example how you could use that. And then we have the concept of stablecoins. So that is a cryptocurrency that is directly linked to a fiat currency. A fiat currency is a normal currency, such as the US dollar or the euro. We have currencies such as USDT or USDC that are directly pegged to the US dollar. So one USDC or one USDT is worth as much as one US dollar. Okay, these are the three kind of cryptocurrencies that you will see for the most part and that are useful to your daily lives. They are, I have to say, they are far more, but I don't want to go into this today. We don't have enough time for that. Here's an article that came out just a few days ago. You can see the date. Elon Musk's early birthday present to himself. The first Tesla just drove itself from its factory straight to the customer. So Elon Musk managed to build self-driving cars. That's important for the story I'm about to tell you. So imagine for a moment that you could buy one of those cars and it can drive itself. You buy a Tesla, you want to go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you want your car to get you there and pick you up at 5 p.m. and get you back home. That's the only 2 times in the day that you need that car because you do lunch at work. Okay, but what will the car do for the rest of the time? The car can drive itself, so you don't even have to drive it. What you could do in this hypothetical scenario, if you take the Tesla car that works with AI technology, you could connect it to the Uber app and could tell it, please take on Uber jobs and drive other people around. And when you do that, you want to be paid in crypto assets. So we will connect this car, this Tesla car, to the blockchain or to a certain blockchain, say Ethereum or something else. And therefore, we can guarantee easy and fast payments, much faster than using a credit card or anything else, and much cheaper. What most people don't know if they're not in business is how much it actually costs to use credit card technology. There's a certain amount that has to be paid with each transaction. And typically it's paid by the company. So the person paying doesn't even know that this transaction happens and that they're actually paying an extra fee just for using a credit card. And the fees are much higher than anything that you would have to pay for when you use cryptocurrencies. For most currencies, there are certainly exceptions, but in general, okay? So what we can see here is that blockchain technology can help us build completely new business models. So I can tell you, I've told this story years ago to other people, and they said, yeah, sure, Professor Grandpa, this will never happen. We see it now. 2 weeks, what was it, 2.5 weeks ago, we had the first delivery of a Tesla car delivering itself. The technology is here. It is here. It's not science fiction anymore. Okay, so you can see now how crypto assets themselves can turn around how we think about business. What it means is that together with AI technology, if we combine these two technologies, we have completely new opportunities to make money that we didn't have before, right? It will completely change the way we live. Let's talk about the metaverse. I asked Google to show me a few metaverse companies. Here are a few, okay? There's a great lecture by my colleague, Professor Francesco Derci. He did a metaverse lecture. I've left you the URL here. You can watch it. It's really interesting. When we talk about the metaverse, people first of all think about these goggles, right? These glasses that you put on and then you're in another world. Facebook's Meta aims for an alternate digital reality. So in a way, it is almost like you're in a video game and you meet your friends there. You might be able to work there. Okay. The trouble here is that it is running on servers. So those of you that play online video games, you know that when you play an online video game, all of that happens on a server somewhere. So you meet your friends on a server. Maybe you've heard of the concept of the third space. So you're picking up the phone, you're calling your friend, and your friend is picking up the call, and then you have a conversation. Where's the conversation happening? On your side or on your friend's side? It is happening in what we call the third space. It's the space in between. And in this case, it would happen on the server. Now, if we use the concept of the metaverse and we combine it with blockchain technology, what we can do is we don't have this interaction to take place on the server. We can have it take place on the blockchain. An example of that is Decentralized. Okay, that's a blockchain-based metaverse where land, art, and interactions are tokens. To be completely frank here, many of these interactions still run on servers because blockchain technology is still not exactly there where we want it to be, but that's the future. That's where we are heading. And you'll see in a moment why that's important. Every social interaction or business deal is recorded immutably on a blockchain. So there's no he said or she said. I'll give you an example. If I go out there and I'll meet a friend of mine and my friend says, hey man, do you have $50? I'll give you back 55 tomorrow. I said, okay. So I give him $50. I see him the next day and then I ask him, hey, where are my $55? And he says, what? What? I don't know what you're talking about. Here, $5. Bye-bye. And then I go to the police and I complain. What will the police say? They will say, hey, do you have a record of your interaction? Did you write anything down? If you haven't, you are in trouble, okay? But if it happens on the blockchain and it is set up in the right way, your interaction can be recorded, which means that you have a truth or a reality that is more real than reality happening on the blockchain. That is the genius behind blockchain technology. So all these interactions that you see of children online, like you have many old people complaining, saying, hey, my kid is not going out anymore. I remember when I was a kid, I was playing on trees and on the playground, meeting my friends. Yes, kids are still doing that, but they're doing that on servers. And very soon, they'll do it on the blockchain. Now, the important aspect here is that blockchain technology gives us back trust. Okay? Trust in a virtual world, which is exactly what we need in the world of business, because business is always and will always be around trust. And that's why blockchain technology matters. So, why blockchain? It holds a permanent truth record for digital realities. Again, it's making digital realities more real because of its ability to record. And then, of course, we have a very particular use case here. So cross-border payments made easy. Let me show you this again. So this is MoneyGram. Those of you that are from a non-European or Western country and you come to a Western country and you might want to send money back to your own country, say, for example, money from the Netherlands to Nigeria, there are a limited amount of options if you don't use cryptocurrencies. And if you do use them, that MoneyGram is just one of many other examples, they tend to be extremely costly. Imagine you have $500 and you have to pay a fee for payment to a bank account, $2. Fee for payment for cash collection. Apparently, for that, you have to pay $10. That's a lot of money. You spend a lot of, imagine you're somebody who worked very, very hard. You don't earn much in an hour. You earn, I don't know, 10 to 20 euros an hour. And then you have to pay that fee for payment for cash collection. That's crazy. Right? So sending money is extremely expensive. That's a problem for so many people. And of course, with cryptocurrencies, you can solve that problem because you can send crypto immediately, almost immediately. It will take you a few minutes at best. And I say minutes because it will take you some time to take the addresses and copy and paste them from one window into the other and then make the actual payment. The payment itself will probably take you a few seconds. And the fees are a lot cheaper, depending, of course, on what blockchain you use. I can't generalize, but there are many payment options that you have where the fees will be much, 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 much lower than, for example, compared to MoneyGram, okay? And you can use stable coins because that means you don't have to deal with all these current ups and downs of cryptocurrencies, such as, for example, Bitcoin. So you have some stability there, okay? So you get payments in minutes with minimal fees. The other thing is that businesses pay global suppliers faster, which is improving cash flow. Those of you that haven't been in business yet, I can tell you, I've been in business for decades now. One of the important markers we look at is that we have enough cash flow. One trick that we can apply, it's, talking about accounting now, not about crypto, is that when you get an invoice for a company, wait for 2 weeks and then you pay it. Why? Because you want to make sure that you manage your cash flow. You need to be able to move cash around because you don't want to go into debt or not be able to meet your payment obligations, right? So you can increase your cash flow by using cryptocurrencies. Here's a story that was in the news a few days ago. Ready-to-eat meals sold at Kroger, Walmart recalled after 3 deaths and 17 sickened. So Walmart sold these ready-to-eat meals and 3 people died and 17 got sick. Terrible situation. Now, these are ready-to-eat meals, which means they were factory produced. So the second business case that we have is supply chain transparency with blockchain technology. As I said earlier, when we look at typical systems where we keep our data, ERP systems, what have you, CRM systems, data is stuck in silos. So if something as tragic as this happens, we have to recall a product. But how do we recall a product? So we produce the product, we put it into our supply chain, and then it is being distributed to different supermarkets and so on. But now we have to go back the same way. And it's kind of tricky to do that. And it is very difficult for us to piece together who was actually in this case, eating that meal and get sick. So that means with each hour that we lose, more and more people are going to die. And blockchain technology can help us. So for example, by using blockchain tracking. So instead of just using, the typical paper route where we distribute our products, we will run everything on the blockchain. And the moment we see that somebody got sick or something is broken, a car part burst, and we know more cars of our factory are going to kill people, we can put a halt to the situation immediately because we know immediately exactly who could fall victim to this situation. That's mind-blowing. This is something that, this is an opportunity to save lives that we never had before. Each product step is recorded immutably. So for example, if somebody would be corrupt in a factory and say, no, I don't care, let them die, I just want to keep my money, it would not be possible. It would not be possible on the blockchain because it's completely transparent and immutable, okay? So result would be safer products and happier customers. That's another use case we have for blockchain technology. And here we have a nice quote from PricewaterhouseCoopers in Germany from Mr. Stefan Schrauf. The greatest benefit of blockchain for the supply chain is that even small interest groups have the opportunity to securely exchange information. Each entry and each change is visible for all participants and remains so. This provides for a high degree of transparency and trust. The revolution has begun. Getting into blockchain is a smart move. The core idea that is important to us here is that even small interest groups have the ability to use this technology, because maintaining large databases is extremely difficult and expensive. You need manpower to do that. If you can automate it on the blockchain, you can solve a lot of problems. And you can also bring down the cost of products and give small organizations a lot more power to do good on their customers. Let's talk about the third business case, decentralized finance, DeFi, banking without banks. Lending, borrowing, trading happening automatically via smart contracts. So we can use smart contracts to lend money, to borrow money, and to trade. Those of you that buy and sell stocks online, I don't know what your provider is, but you have to pay high fees each time you do that. And blockchain technology can help us reduce these fees dramatically. And also it can help us, and we'll look at that later, to tokenize everything. What that is, I'll tell you in a moment. Just keep it in the back of your mind. You don't need a central bank, and you don't need an intermediary. You don't need anybody to tell you what you can and can't do. So those of you that have tried to buy crypto, funnily enough, that's has been quite an issue for the past few years, and it's getting more and more difficult because of what is known as KYC, know your customer. For some people, it can be difficult to buy crypto assets, even though they're not criminals, they haven't done anything bad, they're not terrorists, etc. But there are a lot of rules, and you can get around these rules by using crypto assets. Now, of course, some of you would say, Alex, why are you saying this? This is crazy. They're probably doing something illegal. In Europe, they say that. They say that in the United States, maybe, depending on where you are. I myself live in the Emirates. And in the Emirates, they have a different view on this matter. So yes, they still adhere to KYC procedures, but they're a lot more liberal in the way they use crypto assets. And Asia in general is a lot more liberal when it comes to that. So you see that already culturally, because of the laws and regulations that we have in place, in some places of the world, it is already easier to do business with blockchain technology. I wish we had more time. I'd go into this in more depth. I'll give an example here. Earn interests on cash reserves by lending to the global market. If you want to lend out money, then there are certain regulations in place. And you might not be attractive doing what you do in your local market. But because you use crypto technology, you can do that internationally. Somebody in the world might be interested in the deal that you offer. You have to be very, very careful because that sort of thing can be risky. So I'm not telling you sell everything and go into DeFi. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm telling you is inform yourself and figure out how this works, because it's at least going to be, to some extent, a big part of our financial future. There are going to be great opportunities in that field, including for your careers, by the way. Good. Then we have NFTs. You might have heard of that. There was this NFT craze. I think it was back in 2021. And all kinds of NFTs sold for incredible amounts of money. I'm mentioning this here because people will ultimately ask about that. Right? Okay. So we have the concept of fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible tokens are unique items or rights, but fungible tokens are interchangeably, okay? They are of identical value. That's pretty much what you get from a machine when a machine churns something out. Or, I mean, this is the wrong example, but at least you get the concept. If you buy electricity, you buy electricity. You don't really care. It's not unique electricity that you use in that hour, and in the next hour you use electricity of a different quality. Electricity is just one thing, okay? And what we look at with non-fungible tokens is we look at unique items or unique rights that you have in the digital space. This means that when you look at Super Mario and you played Super Mario back in the 80s on your machine, whatever the machine was called, then every Super Mario was the same. It was cookie cutter mold. That was it. But now we have the opportunity to go into the digital space and give digital items unique properties. And that is important, especially for people that play video games. So I'm not a gamer, but I know many people, especially people much younger than me, that are. And they spend a lot of time in these digital spaces. And they might get a sword or some, special clothing item, etc. And it's important to them. It holds also sentimental value. And it is part of the personality online. And in that case, NFTs can be useful. Okay. Now, when we look at fungible tokens, also we have the concept of, for example, digital dollars or carbon credits. Again, carbon credits, dime a dozen, all right? But when we look at NFTs, we look at digital art, concert tickets, real estate deeds, that sort of thing, okay? Digital art, just think of that. You have a unique art piece. There's only one Mona Lisa in the world, but there are literally millions of copies of it. But you can have your own unique digital piece of art if it is coming to you in the shape of an NFT. Right. Then we have NFTs for royalties. So when you think, for example, of music, it's very, very hard to get paid for your music because typically there's a music producer that's going to make a lot of money off you. But if you sell it yourself and it becomes successful and you want to get paid for it, theoretically at least, you could get paid for it depending on the technology that you use each time the song is being played by somebody. Depends on the system, but you get the example, or you get the idea why that's important. Okay, so there's a whole new world of getting monetized that opens up to you when you use NFT technology. Intellectual property can be tracked transparently. There will be easier licensing and easier enforcement, right? Because you can always track back who consumed my item, where is my item now, who's owning it, and it's much easier to buy and to sell as well. Here's an article that came out a few days ago, 6th of July. Dubai signs deal with crypto.com to build new system to virtually buy, sell, trade, and invest in properties. So see, here's already a change. It's been for quite some time, by the way, that in the Emirates, you could buy and sell property with digital currencies. So it's not exactly new, but Dubai is at the forefront of this. So we have the concept of real estate tokenization, which is yet another business case. You own a fraction of a building through tokens instead of buying the full property. Many of you will know the problem. Maybe you have money. Maybe you want to invest it into, say, the Dubai property market, but you don't have enough to buy a whole flat because the whole flat might cost you, I don't know, $300,000, and you don't have $300,000 lying around, but your granny gave you $300. Okay. If it is tokenized, you can buy a piece of Dubai property. It's doable. Okay. So you have completely new ways of investing if you want, or of owning if you want. You can buy a little piece of property, say in New York City, and give it to your kid that's 2 years old. By the time your kid is 22, oh, it's a lot more money. Okay. So it also improves liquidity. Selling shares is easier than selling entire buildings. So if you want to sell a whole building, it's really, really difficult. You might have noticed that. It's easy to buy a house, or it's much easier to buy a house sometimes than to sell it. But if you only own a share, there's a higher likelihood that you are able to sell it. Okay, so tokenization, that's what it can be good for. Okay, let's look at stock tokenization. Crypto companies such as Coinbase, Robinhood, Kraken are trying to tokenize stocks. They aim to build a financial system for fast and easier trading, according to Bloomberg's Olga Kharif. So crypto's audacious bid to rebuild stock market on the blockchain. Those of you that have tried to buy or sell stocks know the trouble of how many fees or of how much you have to pay in fees, how difficult it can be sometimes. Right? But if even stocks are tokenized, you have a similar situation to what I just told you before with property. You can take a small amount of money and invest it into stocks. That's what tokenization can do for you. That's just one of the many examples. So what's the everyday impact? It will change how we live and how we pay. So think of event tickets as NFTs. There will be no fakes, and you can unlock exclusive perks. So it's not just about going to that concert of that favorites of your famous or your favorite singer, but it's also that depending on what level of ticket you buy, you might get a digital perk, such as a personal message from the artist, for example. It depends on what deal you're getting into. But it's a very different way to buy tickets as opposed to getting paper tickets. And then we have loyalty programs that use tradable tokens. Okay, they are more engaging, could be more engaging customer rewards. It's a bit like getting coupons for buying something at the supermarket, except here it's easier to track, it's easier to send out to people and so on. Then we have gaming items that are truly owned by players. That's a big one. They can be sold and traded freely. You remember earlier I talked about, for example, swords that you have in computer games or weapons or any such thing. It will be much easier to buy and sell them with NFT technology. And it's also more important to do that nowadays because the digital world so far has been quite generic. And by using NFTs, we can personalize it. And that's very important. Think about how much time you spend every day in front of a screen. My entire working life happens in front of a screen, except I have to go out and give a lecture in person, which I love, by the way. It's my cup of tea. I prefer to be there with people. But the rest of the time I spend in front of screens. So my life happens largely online already, and it's just going to increase that way. So using that technology might add some perks to it. Micropayments for content. Pay pennies to read articles or watch videos. Say you see a nice article on, I don't know, the New York Times, Washington Post, what have you. And you want to read it, but then they tell you, yeah, you can read that article. But the trouble is they want you to pay for a subscription for a full year, maybe even a month. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to read that one article and go your way. And with this technology, you can do that. You can pay a few pennies, a small amount, through crypto assets. You can even own the article by the article being burnt together with NFT technology, and then it's yours. And you can always read it again if you want to. Yeah. And then, of course, we have small business opportunities. You can raise capital globally via security tokens. You can accept stable coin payments worldwide. So the trouble right now, for those of you that have already run an online business, I mean, I've been in business, as I said, for a long time, and I've seen all kinds of issues. Getting paid online is such a pain in the neck. If you want to use Stripe or PayPal, first of all, they're very expensive. They charge quite some fees. On top of it, you have to connect them to your bank account. You try to do that. If you are in any Western country, the first issue that you have is they try to make sure that you are not involved in any criminal activity, which as such is fine because I'm not a criminal. I have no criminal record. I should be fine. Yet, as a business person, I still face issues because the bank wants to see all kinds of paperwork for me and make my life difficult. And if you use PayPal, for example, this is a classic scenario that happened for years. I haven't used it for a long time, but I remember that when you got payments that were exceeding $10,000 in a month, suddenly your account got banned and you couldn't sell anymore. What is it? That's not viable for any business. If you really want to make money and you are able to scale, why would you use PayPal then? Not against PayPal, but these are the issues that you face. Yeah, and crypto assets can circumvent that problem. Okay, so you have lower fees, and you have no currency exchange hassle, which is another one, because if you have international currency, if you sell a product internationally, some people pay in dollars, some people pay in euros, others in real, whatever it is. You can automate contracts and payments with smart contracts, which means everything will be smarter, faster, and fairer. Okay, so what's the road ahead? What are the challenges that we have to solve? There are a lot, and I cannot go through all of them because again, we lack the time here. But you probably have to come to one of my lectures, and I can do that. We have regulatory uncertainty. So again, I live in the Emirates, but I'm from Europe. And there's a good reason that I live in the Emirates, because I can't really work with crypto assets as well in Europe as I can in the Emirates, or generally in Asia, right? So there are all kinds of laws that have been issued recently, I'm not going to go into them now, that made it clearer as to how we can use crypto assets in Europe. But the way they are set up also diminishes many of your opportunities. So governments are exploring clearer frameworks. And once they are in place, they're in place. And even if they're not to your advantage, at least you know where you are at and what you can and can't do. And then you can decide whether you want to stay in Europe or leave, if you are so inclined to do more business in the crypto field somewhere else. Then we have the concept of scalability and energy. So blockchain networks need better efficiency, moving from proof of work to proof of stake. What that means is that some cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin, for example, they underlie the principle of proof of work, which means that essentially machines need to run in order to generate more Bitcoin. That's the easy version. I'm not going to go into more detail here, right? And then you have cryptocurrencies such as Ethereum, which works on proof of stake, which essentially does not need so much energy. It just needs stability. So instead of spending your Ethereum, you put it somewhere and freeze it in order to build a grid. Again, this is the wrong explanation, but it's an easy explanation for the purpose of this short lecture. And it uses a lot less energy. And that's one of the problems that we need to fix, because yes, crypto assets can use a lot of energy, but compared to what? How much energy is needed to print US dollars and move them in tanks from one place to another? I don't know. How much fuel is being burned? How can we compare it? I can't tell you. And then, of course, and this is a real problem, the user experience. It's complex for average users. This is a real issue we have right now. And it's getting better. So I remember, 5 years ago, when you tried to send crypto assets, it was difficult. It was so difficult because you had to understand what means what and what long code do you have to put into what window. And it's a headache. It's a lot easier now, but you'll see with time, everything will become a lot more user-friendly, and then it will be easier to have faster transactions. So the user interface is a real issue that we have with crypto assets. And then, of course, there's the issue of security. Okay, there's the risk of hacks and scams. So this is a very secure technology. It has to be said. It's an extremely secure technology, but there are a lot of people, of course, that try to get your money, and they will misbehave and find ways to trick you into behavior that will benefit them and destroy you. Okay? So for that, we need education and better security tools. What are the future trends that we have to look out for? First of all, interoperability. So blockchain, that the idea that blockchains communicate seamlessly. Let's say, for example, you use a blockchain such as Ethereum and ADA. Okay, these two are different blockchain technologies, but there are ways to make them talk together and interoperate. Okay, so you could take, for example, an NFT, and depending on what bridge was built, you could then use it to buy an item that would normally only be available on ADA. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, it's probably a bit too complicated at this stage. In a lecture, I go into more detail. But interoperability, this is what we are working on right now. That's what we're seeing. Big topic is CBDC, central bank digital currencies. In October, the European Union wants to introduce their CBDC. And I guess they feel pushed because crypto itself is pushing boundaries further and further, and the European Union is being left behind. So they came up with their own digital currency, and they try to push it. Huge topic. I love that topic. I'd love to give you a lecture right now, but I can't. We just don't have the time. Okay. And then we see tokenization everywhere. So, for example, from carbon credits to art to personal data rights. We've already touched on that. Very interesting topic is artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things and their integration. So, for example, smart contracts triggered by sensors or AI decisions, which will lead to autonomous business logic. Sounds complicated. It's really simple. If you look at that picture here, this is a fridge. And what happens here is that the AI in the fridge realizes, oh my God, we only have 200 milliliters of milk left. We urgently need more milk. So what the AI will do is, because we're working with the Internet of Things, it will basically engage the fridge to then send a message on the blockchain to the nearest supermarket to send more milk to stock up the fridge. Okay, and maybe it already knows that the family will be going on vacation next week, so it will limit the amount of milk that it will order in order to not have too much spoilage and waste. So you see the opportunities here, right? We could save a lot of food. We could save a lot of trips to the supermarkets. Imagine how much your carbon footprint would go down if you don't have to manage your fridge all the time. That's the future. These are the trends that we watch. And again, what I want you to take away is everybody's talking about AI, but think about AI in conjunction with crypto assets and with blockchain technology. Because when these two operate together, magic happens. Okay. Key takeaways. Blockchain automates trust. Okay. Things get faster, cheaper, and it leads to transparent business. Transparent business is important because you want to know what's happening. Crypto assets are not just money. They digitize ownership and they digitize rights. Real companies can use blockchain technology daily for efficiency and innovation. We're at the start of a new era. Understanding this tech is strategic. It's not speculative. If you go back to the beginning of my presentation, I told you about the conversation I had yesterday. And that nice gentleman basically said, well, it's all just speculation. Well, is it? It's not. It's strategic. What we are seeing here is that we are getting a new kind of infrastructure. This is what I want you to take home, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting a new kind of infrastructure. If you think again of the Ukraine example, that is infrastructure. It is infrastructure to make a civilization more civilized. It makes sure that corruption is not going to get out of control. It makes sure that people can get treated fairly if it is set up in the right way. That's the opportunity that we get with blockchain technology. Right. I'm ready for any questions you might have. Greta?
Thank you so much. That was very interesting. You covered pretty much everything that we can do with technology, but that was very interesting. There are a couple of questions that just arrived. So the first one is, how can students start getting hands-on experience with blockchain and crypto?
Okay. Few things. You have to, now, I don't want to jump straight into the concept of the cold wallet, but the first thing you might want to do is just go online and, depending on the country that you're in, set up an account with, I don't know if Binance is legal in your country or not, but find a company that sells you crypto assets. If you have a machine that you see that sells you Bitcoin, for example, just buy a small amount. Take some money, $20, I don't care, whatever you can afford. Buy some. Look at it. Try to figure out what it is and how you can use it. Maybe you can't use it. Then play with it. Try to figure out what you can do with it. And try to figure out whether it makes sense in your life. I'll give you an example. There's a thing called Axie Infinity. It's a metaverse game. And what it does is it's frankly, I've never played it because I'm not a gamer, but it's a game where essentially you have to breed fish. That's what I understand about it. But the idea why I'm mentioning it is because some people like video games. If you find a video game that works with blockchain technology, play with it, have fun with it, okay? Actually engage with it and see what the aspect is of crypto technology, what the crypto implications are in this case, and what the blockchain implications are, and try to play with it. Get used to the technology, and then try to buy some crypto assets. Don't buy so much that you can go broke, okay? But figure out how it works. I would actually recommend everybody, if they can afford it, only if they can afford it, to buy some Bitcoin. Whatever you buy in Bitcoin, make sure that you can lose that money or not have to use that money for the next 4 to 5 years. I'm saying that because if you wait for 4 to 5 years, it could be, or it's very, very likely that the price will be higher. I'm saying that out of my own experience. I remember buying Bitcoin for the first time, and I think I lost, how much did I lose? I lost 2/3 of the money that I invested. And I sat on it for 2 to 3 years until I was back in the plus. And suddenly I saw the light and I realized what Bitcoin is and what it is not. And I saw many of my friends saying, oh my God, I lost everything. I'm going to just sell it. I cut my losses. And that was the mistake. And you have to get through that phase because Bitcoin is extremely cyclical. It goes up and down, up and down. And you have to learn how it works. The trouble that we have is that we learned to operate with money in a physical world. with fairly stable currencies, except those, of course, of us that are in places such as Nigeria, Lebanon, where you have, or Argentina, where you have crazy currency fluctuations. It's very, very different. Like, people there deal with money very differently. For those of us that are used to stable currencies, especially Europeans, Americans, and so on, we have to get used to that. So buy some Bitcoin, figure out how it works, and try to find some fun ways to engage with it. If you like video games, find video games. If you like something else, and find a niche that works with crypto assets. And then at some point, when you have a collection of crypto assets, the next step will be buy yourself a cold wallet. Figure out what it is. Just write down the word cold wallet. That's all you need to do for now. Later, you look it up online, and then you figure out what you can do with it. And the cryptos that you have, you can try to send it on there. You'll make some mistakes, you'll lose some, but you start to understand how blockchain technology really works.
Okay. And I suppose keep updated and just keep learning
absolutely.
as well.
So this is one of those issues with the whole crypto space. There's so much change and innovation. It is extremely hard to keep up, including for myself. Sometimes I'm completely baffled. I found, I thought I'm at the top of my game. I met a guy British guy in the Emirates the other day. Was it 3 weeks ago? We had dinner, and he explained to me new ways how I could make money with my Bitcoin that I didn't know before. Marvelous. Here I am as the big professor, but I have no clue about the technology that he used in order to multiply his Bitcoin. Okay, you have to be extremely humble, because your capacity to know is completely outmatched by the rate of innovation that we have in this space, especially now with AI, because AI is pushing our boundaries in this field as well.
And this is linked maybe to the second question about innovation and entrepreneurship. Could this help young entrepreneurs start their own business more easily?
Yes. As I said earlier, it was one of the examples that I gave you earlier. It is far more direct now to attract capital. You can raise capital because there's I wrote a paper on initial coin offerings. So initial coin offerings are essentially a spin-off of when you make a stock public. You might have heard of that, right? So you take a stock and you make it public, and you can do the same with cryptos. Most of these initial coin offerings are fraudulent. They're different numbers. Some people say 95% to 99%, but the few that are genuine, they create true value. And if you're looking for money for your venture as an entrepreneur, this is the place to be. Everybody's looking at AI, but look at the juncture of AI together with blockchain technology. Because again, as I said earlier, blockchain technology is infrastructure. And this is not how it is understood for the most part. Even by so-called experts, they would never say that, but it is infrastructure. And you can build the future here. I'll give you an example. There were many people that became rich in the United States, 150, 200 years ago with the American railway system, because they built infrastructure connecting the East Coast to the West Coast and vice versa. Okay. And it's the same thing that's happening again. We're building a new infrastructure for the future. And yes, for heaven's sake, yes, if this is what you want to do as an entrepreneur, that's your right.
Okay, we have a question from Marius asking, where do you think blockchain will have the biggest breakthrough in the next 5 years?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Where do you think blockchain will have the biggest breakthrough in the next 5 years?
I cannot tell you. I don't think anybody can tell you in the next 5 years. What I did was here when I looked at, what was it? These are, this slide basically answers it. It's interoperability, because there are a lot of different blockchains out there. And after each bull market, you see a few of those dying out. Like, everybody touts a certain coin, everybody buys it, the price spikes, then boom, it goes bust. Right? But why? Because there was something off with the technology. And one important aspect here is interoperability. I think that's going to be an extremely important aspect. CBDCs, we're going to see what's going to happen in October, how people will receive it. And I'm a bit confused by this, to be quite frank, because the Swedish government already looked, Sweden is a country that doesn't really have cash anymore. So they use digital money, they use cards, but they don't use crypto, right now, or at least not for official legal tender, but because we now have that threat of a looming war with Russia. There are talks now about this whole situation, asking, well, wouldn't it be wise to have some cash in case our infrastructure breaks down? Because how are we going to pay for anything with a plastic card if we don't have a digital infrastructure? Okay, so that's a space that we need to look at. That's going to be very interesting. Also, consider talking about war and all these difficult situations that we face now in Europe, not just in Europe, all over the world. In the Middle East, we face them. And, you know, the reality is that where's your money when a country breaks down? That's a true question. And that question has been answered through Bitcoin. So if a crisis hits in the next few months to years, I think we are going to see what works and what doesn't work. And we have seen, due to conflicts in other places, that central banking systems don't necessarily work in difficult situations. And Bitcoin, for example, can work. Bitcoin has proven itself. So that's going to be a space to look out for. And yeah, tokenization. As I said, tokenization is a really, really important topic here, right? Because everything will be tokenized. So what that means is that we have a new way to track property. Yeah. Does that answer the question? I'm sorry, I'm kind of repeating myself.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think it's difficult to answer like what's going to happen, but as you said, the future trends to look at are those ones that you just showed. So
Yes.
thank you. There is one final question, is more about the academic program at OPIT, if they can learn that, like crypto and blockchain technology in the program. So by enrolling in one of our master program or bachelor programs.
Yeah. And what do you want to know?
So the question is really, how is blockchain integrated in the academic program? So it's part of the technology anyway.
It depends on what track you choose. That is the only right answer, because it really depends on the track. If you were to tell me, okay, you know, this is the master of so-and-so, I could give you an answer, but we don't.
Yeah, it depends on the program, absolutely, and the track.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so